Good morning. Can we please settle down, and we'll be starting in a few minutes, around 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you. Good morning. Can we please settle down so we can start in 2 minutes? Okay. Good morning to everyone. Selamat pagi. Thank you all for joining us today. It's the second day of the launch of ACEBA, and today we will be having the Indonesian Inauguration Workshop, Business for the Circular Economy in Indonesia. So my name is Lorraine Gatlabayan, and I'm from the Switch Asia Policy Support Component, and I will be your MC for this event. Okay, so we'll start first. I would like to begin with the housekeeping rules because we are also having the event online. We have around 23 participants who are with us online for this event, and thank you for joining us today in person. And just a few housekeeping rules. Please mute your mic to make sure that there's no audio interference, as well as your mobile phones, if you can put it on silent mode. And also to inform you, we will be recording this event, and it will be available to the participants later on. And during this session, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put it in the chat box, and we will have the questions and answers also during the workshop. And also, if you have any questions after the event, please feel free to email us. My email address is there, lorraine@switchasia.eu. Thank you. Next slide, please. So just to show you the agenda for today, so we have our speakers, also from the partners and also stakeholders who will be sharing and joining us in this event. And just the next slide, please. Just to give you also the objectives of today's event. So for this workshop, we will have the following objectives, which is to discuss how circular economy is being understood and applied through business practices in Indonesia and ASEAN, and also to inform participants of emerging insights on business commitment and action towards circular economy derived from the Southeast Asian business cases that were developed through the technical assistance supported by Switch Asia through partnership with the ASEAN CSR network. And also for us to share in-country learnings and also gather insights from the business cases, and also on how policies can support this circular economy business practices. And lastly, it's for us to explore potential collective actions towards business action on circular economy through ACEBA. So without further ado, I would like to request Mr. Bernardino Vega, who is the Vice Chairman of International Relations from Kadin, Indonesia, Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the Council of ASEAN Business Advisory Council in Indonesia. Please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Good morning, everyone, and everyone on also good morning. It's nice to be here today, and I remember meeting Pak Thomas, but what is it, 2 years ago, around this time. We didn't chair ASEAN yet. We were chairing the B20, right? And this idea came up, and I'm so glad it's now being actually implemented and being proceed forward. But ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and of course Thomas, the co-convener of ACEBA, and also the CEO of ASEAN CSR Network. Also I met this morning Mr. Rene Van Berkel, right? Also the co-convener of ACEBA and also the senior expert on circular economy at EU, Switch Asia Policy Support Component, and also Pak Salil I met this morning from UNIDO, and some of the other guys here. And on behalf of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce Industry, or KADIN, and the ASEAN Business Advisory Council Indonesia. I'd like to, congratulate all of you in this organization on the launching of the ASEAN Circular Economy Business Alliance, or ACEBA, and we appreciate having us being involved in this important matter, especially ASEAN BUC Indonesia. The inauguration of ACEBA marks a significant milestone in what we call a collective journey towards a sustainable and resilient ASEAN economy, which we showcased that last year on some of the initiatives, particularly on net zero and also ASEAN Alliance on Covered Market. But this one goes forward even more. The circular economy, or CE, is a transformation concept that offers a pathway to sustainable growth in developing economy and its activities, from the consumption of finite resources, which we know it's finite, and designing a waste out of the system. So it's basically a zero waste approach to the economy. The framework, while we often focus solely on environment protection, also actually benefits the business, because it also promotes efficient allocation of resources. So with this, we become more efficient. We think harder on how we make use of these resources, which in the long run would increase business competitiveness and long-term resilience. So we believe that this approach is the approach that will sustain us in our growth. And hopefully ACEBA could also answer some of the strategic questions in what ways business could foster growth while maintaining environmental preservation. How could, for example, MSMEs be part of the sustainable economy with their capacity and resources? And more importantly, how could all businesses at all levels work together and achieve it? And to go further, I mean, Indonesia will have a new president this year, in this October 20. He has some priorities that the new administration will promote: food security, energy security, water security, and housing security. And how could we develop these some of the initiatives that the new government will embark. And so that's the relevance of ACEBA, and the reason why this kind of initiative is very timely and useful, because it really relates to whatever initiative that governments in ASEAN is trying to develop. And Indonesia, for that matter, along with ASEAN counterparts, has slowly begun to recognize the importance of integrating circular economy and its principles to business practices. From agribusiness, textiles, to tourism, construction and management, all sorts of sectors now we're beginning to think, and many of these companies are already creating initiatives. The ASEAN Circular Economy Business Alliance will play a critical role in transition. It'll also can provide leadership in facilitating business action on a circular economy. ACEBA could also serve as a platform to raise the visibility of committed businesses and promote innovative solutions. So working with industries and probably industry captains around the region, we could initiate this even more and provide business leadership in initiatives like this. As the Association of Business in Indonesia, we understand that the industry-led initiatives are important, like I just mentioned, to further advancing the sustainable effort. And my colleague, Basri Kambay, which you met yesterday, mentioned that KADIN is committed to embrace the circular economy, right? And to encourage adaptation of sustainable principles in its businesses. And so this is something that we're trying to disseminate and share all throughout the KADIN organization. We are entering, I mentioned before, we're entering into new presidency. The growth is 8%, and the idea is the 8% growth will be driven by government spending. Spending will the prediction it'll cover about 3.5–4% of the growth. Another 0.5%, 0.5 to 1% will be covered by digital innovation, which will make it more efficient. And the rest, 2.5%, 3% will be covered by the state-owned companies, businesses, and also the private sector, which means investment. And so this is an important moment for us, and to integrate this circular concept in the growth into Indonesia's what we call 8% growth, which is quite ambitious. If we do it right, we can achieve it. We need to ensure that high growth also comes with greener development. So that's the goal that we want to have. And the global commitment should also be translated into domestic pathways. Of achieving net zero, our net zero goal for Indonesia is 2060. Kadin has launched our what we call sustainable task force. We do have a task force to further integrate the private sector goal in realizing the value of sustainability. Also activities. We're running out of battery here, I think. But we can't do that ourselves. And the spirit of cooperation. The integration between business, stakeholders, other stakeholders, and government is very important. And I would like to also acknowledge that the EU switched Asia policy support component, which has been instrumental in conceptualizing ACEBA. We're also grateful for that, for your support, and we are looking forward for greater cooperation. Today's launch and workshop is just the beginning, we know, and we move forward. Let's engage in a meaningful discussion, share insights, explore our opportunities, and be diligent and resilient. Sometimes in Indonesia, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but progress should be made, and we should continue to move forward. By leading, and we have to lead by example, we have to inspire more businesses to adopt sustainable practices to ensure prosperity on a sustainable future in our region. So Kadin Indonesia and ASEAN Bank Indonesia are ready to support this initiative. And we're ready to play a role in the initiatives ahead. And once again, congratulations for the launching of ACEBA. I look forward to seeing this positive impact and alliance develop and throughout the business communities in the region. Thank you, and have a productive, inspiring session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vega. Now we continue to give also the welcome remarks. Dr. Zinaida Fadiva, the team leader of Switch Asia Policy Support Component. Please go on stage. Thank you.
Good morning, selamat pagi. So I'm already out of the yes. Colleagues, good morning. And let me start with congratulating all of us on the birth of ACEBA Indonesia. Yesterday, it was a regional celebration for the whole ASEAN. Today, it is a special day for all of us. And of course, big thanks and congratulations go to our experts, Thomas, René van Berkel, our experts, which really together with Lorraine have been facilitating this process. And it's a particular pleasure also to have with us one Indonesian experts which have helped development of finding and curating and developing cases, business cases for Indonesia, Dr. Yoon. So thank you for being with us. She traveled all the way from Yogyakarta so to be with us and share her experiences of really bringing insights from great practices of Indonesian cases. And where is Nia? Nia is there. So Nia I was going to say that Nia has been with us on the birth of the regional, but also she's a regional ACEBA. She's also with us, and she really led this process. And most of the Indonesian cases, which are already here known, promoted, shown online has been done by Dr. Nia. Dr. Nia, thank you very much. So 2 experts are with us, so, and big thanks go to them. So that is to say, before we arrive to this stage, quite a lot of work has been done by experts from Indonesia, from the regional and international experts, to highlight the business case among the companies to make sure that a circular economy is coming not as an alien abstract concept, but really as a principle-based approach already practiced to some extent by the companies in the countries in ASEAN. Now, that brings us to this stage, and this stage will be really working with colleagues like Kadin, which is an excellent partner for us for the next stage, to make sure that your members, your committees are really able to bring it together at the highest speed, hopefully with support from us. So we look forward, we welcome this partnership, and we look forward to working with you, figuring out also based on today's discussion what exactly needs to be done for this activity to lead us to the, as you said, Padino, to the resilient, sustainable and resilient business practices which allow the businesses to remain relevant for the decades to come. So thank you very much to Kadin, thank you very much to all business organizations with us today in the room and online. And of course, big thanks goes to our EU delegation representative. So Ms. Navita Sari is going to talk to us today about work of the EU. But within the EU, Switch Asia is a program which is continued to work with us. This program is operational in the region of Asia and the Pacific since 2007. It is a program which has 2 components, just to show a little bit of landscape in which this specific initiative is being born. So 2 components are policy support component, and the team which is with you today is representing this one. So we are acting on the request of the governments and regional organizations, such as ASEAN CSR Network, to assist in different frameworks which help activities of the MSMEs and companies across the supply chain and consumers across the supply chain to bring more sustainable practices, policy support. The second one is called the grant program, and this is really modeling activities in the area of sustainable consumption and production on the ground. 2 of them are helping to bring together, again, as I said, activities on the ground and policy frameworks which enable that to be much broader uptaken. So that's Switch Asia, and we are really looking at the SCP practices, which means resource efficiency, waste minimization, carbon neutral, across the supply chain within the region and between the region, including between the ASEAN and EU. So that's the focus, and we are hoping that through different programs, including this one, we would have a bit of a catalytic effect to the sustainable, resilient and relevant ASEAN and business activities in ASEAN. Again, wishing us all a success as partners, and also interesting and insightful discussions, which, as I mentioned, are of a practical nature because it will lead to the identification of a next stage, which hopefully will start from August onwards, and of course, together with Kadin. Thank you very much. Success.
Thank you, Dr. Zinaida. And now to give the introductory remarks, may I welcome Ms. Navita Sari, the Cooperation Section Program Manager of Environment and Climate Change from the Delegation of the European Union to Indonesia, Brunei Darussalam, and Delegation of the European Union to ASEAN. Thank you. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Lorraine. So I hope the event today will be as excited as yesterday. So thank you for coming today. So I'm Novita Sari. I'm here to represent the EU delegation to Indonesia and ASEAN. On behalf of the delegation of the European Union to Indonesia and ASEAN, I congratulate the ASEAN CSR Network, ASEAN Business Advisory Council, the Switch Asia Program, and the sporting business groups such as Kadin Indonesia for the successful launch of the ASEAN Circular Economy Business Alliance, ACEBA, yesterday. So yesterday we had our EU ambassador to ASEAN to witness the launch and also signing ceremony statement from the business companies who already committed to share the business experience on circular economy. Now today, we have the Indonesia inauguration of ACEBA. So we are focusing on Indonesia now, which brings us together to build the momentum on firming up this commitment towards business leadership and action on circular economy, and for us to discuss on how to further support the business community to implement circular economy activities. This ASEAN-led Responsible Business Initiative has been made possible through the technical advisory on mobilizing business action for circular economy in ASEAN, implemented by the ASEAN CSR Network and supported by the EU Switch Asia Policy Support Component. Our team leader for Policy Support Component, Zinaida, has already explained about the Switch Asia program. So this is our EU flagship program on sustainable consumption and productions, SDG 12, and now we are talking about circular economy, and it's a very close link relationship between two of them. So through the country business engagement held and the more than 70 business cases in Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, there is much more understanding on how circular economy could be pursued by encouraging innovation and collaboration toward business commitment and action and circular economy. Because I believe the circular economy is just a term. It's not something difficult. I know that the objective is to understand what the circular economy action is, and I believe that actually it's already in everyday's life. Sometimes when we talk about circular economy, people think it's about waste. It's actually not only about waste, and I know that Indonesia already launched the Circular Economy, National Circular Economy Action Plan and Roadmap, and it covers 5 priority sectors. It's Bappenas-led initiative, and they really want to implement this program, and they really need business sectors to be involved in this. So through ACEBA, champions on circular economy in the business community could lead the transition and will help inspire and encourage other businesses to adopt circular economy practices in Indonesia. The EU stands committed to move towards circular economy as a priority through the EU Green Deal and the support it provides to partner countries in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, through the EU-supported programs such as Switch Asia program. We also have other EU-funded projects related to green, and we are also trying to work together, not only the EU, because the EU has also 27 member states, and we are trying to work together in the Team Europe initiative. So I always encourage the Switch Asia policy support component to coordinate with other initiatives to also join forces, because we know that this kind of initiative cannot be done alone. So it needs a lot of coordination, discussion, and then join forces together so that it can be effectively and strategically implemented. So circular economy is an important agenda and key element of EU action through the EU Green Deal, the Circular Economy Action Plan, and the Global Gateway. Through the Switch Asia program and the other EU programs, such as the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, the ASEAN-EU Dialogue on Circular Economy, the ASEAN Green Initiative, among others. The EU is committed to supporting the ASEAN countries to transition to a low-carbon, resource-efficient, and circular economy. I convey my congratulations to the co-conveners and partners of ACEBA, and I encourage more companies to join this initiative to better understand circular economy and be part of those who will benefit from the opportunities and support it brings toward business action on circular economy. So please share this information to your networks, because we want to share our business practices on circular economy to others. I will forward to our participants here as you share, engage, and hopefully join ACEBA and be one of its strategic partners in mobilizing business action for circular economy in ASEAN. The European Union, through the Switch Asia policy support component, will continue to support business stakeholders in their transition towards circularity. Thank you and have a nice discussion today.
Thank you, Ms. Navita. And now to give a presentation, may I invite Mr. Thomas Thomas, the co-convener of ACEBA and CEO of ASEAN Network, to introduce and provide an overview of the ASEAN Circular Economy Business Alliance, or ACEBA. Thank you. Please give him a round of applause.
Selamat pagi, good morning, selamat datang, welcome to these things. I want to first and foremost acknowledge Pak Dino, Bernardino, Ibu Zinaida, Rovita, and all these distinguished guests here. First and foremost, I want to thank Kadi for your support and for this event and for this project. This project cannot move forward in ASEAN if we don't have Indonesia behind us. You're 40% of ASEAN, and the most respectable. I remember, I think through ASEAN has only been able, because of the commitment of Indonesia for so long. That's to quote my old Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, who said that's very important. So thank you, and I think with your support, we will succeed. I also want to thank Patino for confirming and telling me that the country lead for Indonesia for ACEBA will be Pak Basri Kampa, who did the welcome address yesterday. So I want to thank, and it's an honor. We had dinner with Pak Basri and learned of his great photographic skills, and we had so much of circular conversation, more than the economy. So just want to say thank you very, very much, and we go. The other point we also said yesterday, I carry on, is that this logo here is AREBA, the ASEAN Responsible Inclusive Business Alliance, as the partner for ACEBA, with ABAC, the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, for which Patino is representing as well. We started this project as ASEAN CSR Network, but we found that the CSR, the word CSR, is a bit of a challenge. People relate it to philanthropy, charity, and because when we develop social responsibility, we said the CSR, social responsibility, is not about how companies spend money. It's about how did they make that money. Because there are a lot of companies around, a lot of businessmen around, who does very unscrupulous ways, and then to wash away their sins, they donate money to a temple, a church, or something, and then they think they are clean. But we don't want that washing away of sins, or by blue washing, white washing, green washing, or whatever it is. So yesterday with Pak Basri, we also heard that the black economy is more prosperous than the white economy in many countries. So we want it to come up without whitewashing or the open. So we'll be transiting to this AREBA, as responsible and inclusive business. So there'll be clarity in our role on business things. And the other point I also want to make is that we started with social responsibility as a voluntary initiative. Today, it is no longer voluntary. Stock exchanges require listed companies to write their non-financial performance, because the non-financial performance of a company has bigger impact on the future expectations and future drive of the company than past performance of financial statements. So it's more and more becoming mandatory, particularly with the rules that Novita talks about, the EU and other places is imposing on that. So on this note, as a prelude, this is going to be more and more important, and ACEBA is setting the stage to help our regional organization and companies to meet those things. So let me just explain a little bit of what, sorry, it's not moving. Okay. The ACEBA is an alliance called the ASEAN Circular Economy Business Alliance. Sorry, it doesn't. Okay. It is ASEAN-centric. I think the first thing is that it is going to be a business-led with examples, and sorry, they're not so very much. And I think when you talk about ASEAN-led, ASEAN has already got okay. Thank you. There is small things that has not been, which was not aware of. Thank you. I think we have the ASEAN Circular Economy Framework and national strategies. So this will actually help them to realize this. And we also said that, the participants, by following by examples, we have compiled a lot of case studies, and you'll give you visibility and a voice for this thing. So okay, so we have documented good practices. Sorry, it's getting a little bit. We will also facilitate learning, etc. So when ACEBA comes up, we are talking about business. We have participants. The participants are companies and businesses that signs a pledge that they will take circular economy progress and report on it, the initiatives, and participate. Then each country of these participants will have a country lead. So I'm key, thanks Khadin is going to be our country lead, but Basri will be the face of Khadin as a country lead. Similarly, we are talking to and have some understanding with Thailand and Philippines and working on it. The screen has gone, okay. And finally, the regional hub. We will establish a regional hub which will look and coordinate the activities throughout the region. Can you turn to the next slide, please? I have. Okay. We, in terms of moving forward, we will do that. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I think we'll do three things in ACEBA. One is we'll promote and expand the things by getting more and more companies involved, by communicating. You'll be taking over from here? Yeah, after this. Yeah, okay. I think that's where the slide goes. Sorry. That's why I thought it's strange, because I thought that slide was supposed to be Rene's, and why did it come to me? Sorry, so I thought this part of, I lost my hair. So maybe that has happened, something. Light shines on my head. I think the first, what is the benefit of ACEBA for ASEAN and our member states? First one, I think is helping the implementation of the ASEAN Circular Economy Framework, which is going to talk about economic resilience, resource efficiency, sustainable growth, and therefore we'll have an ASEAN economic integration that is both resilient and sustainable. We'll also be showcasing the business rationale. Why these businesses want to do it? We'll see a slide on it. And then we also will have insights by our case studies the opportunities and challenges for circular economy implementation to help shape the development and implementation of appropriate and efficient, effective policies, enabling policies and strategies even for governments. So next slide, please. Okay, the next one, oh, okay, this is not aligned, sorry. Is simultaneously for businesses to provide inspiration and recognition. I think you see somebody do it, I can also do it. That's inspiration. And I think we will also support along the way for circular economy solutions that are appropriate. If you look at our many case studies later, it's wide sectors, they all start in could be different, but end up the same place of being circular and efficient. So I think we'll also work on policy things to provide guidance, methods, metrics for implementation throughout ASEAN so that we have a vibrant ecosystem of businesses doing this. And finally, we also will recognize the efforts of participating businesses and promote the achievements and best practice and lessons learned. So it will be beneficial for businesses and ASEAN. So the way forward, I will pass it to you, Renee.
Way forward. Okay, sorry that we're playing around a little bit with the slides, but if I can get back the slide here, the way forward, yes. Okay, so basically what we have is that we started with the announcement and the launch of ACEBA yesterday. What we look forward in the next 18 months, basically until the end of 25, is this 3 activities which are highlighted here. So we need first of all to promote and expand the set of companies and organizations that we work with. So we will work on the communication and knowledge sharing, have just basically a website, the community of practitioners, which will be out there. And we're looking forward to having more learning by sharing. I think that there is a lot of what Thomas was also highlighting, that what one company has done is inspirational to others. So if we can do that, it's not necessarily cut and paste, but it's more learning and getting inspiration from that. Then, of course, we would like to continue with experience curation and knowledge creation, so documentation of business cases, publication of operational guides. In particular, on we see that businesses are facing a challenge on seeing where's the role of their own business in the circular economy. So what is the magnetic north, so to speak, on circular economy, and then developing strategies and finding metrics for that. So that will be our work more than maybe on the nuts and bolts of energy efficiency or water efficiency, which is relatively well known right now. And then in terms of advocacy and partnerships, we're looking at policy engagements, strategy and partnership roadmap, and also working together with other initiatives like Novita, you mentioned the other EU initiatives. So to see the partnership, that this is really focused on business action, and other EU interventions are working on policy, on regulations for waste management, on engaging with other stakeholders. But this is the so to speak, the business arm on the business engagement arm on this. So we aim for regional coverage with national activities initially then in Indonesia, Thailand and the Philippines. And of course the continued technical advisory from EU Switch Asia policy support component. Somehow, can we move to the next slide? Because okay, so then I want to say who we are. No, I see something different here. I wanted to see. I'm not lying. It's really different. If you don't believe so, if you go the previous slide with the lineup of who we have right now. It's important. I want to give credit to that. So we have currently on the slides 12 business organizations, but there's one more which signed up yesterday. So Pan Brothers from Indonesia is here, also in the room. Global Environmental Awareness and Action is there. Husk Ventures from Cambodia, Knai by Chak from Cambodia, Paktis, also Cambodia, Solar Green Energy, Cambodia. Sudrain from Cambodia, ton to ton from also plastics recycling from Cambodia, Converge ICT from Philippines, Sayak Springs from Thailand, Millennium Destinations also Thailand, and then the Pacific Asia Travel Association also based from Thailand, and then also Non is on there. And then in terms of business partnerships, we have ASEAN Business Advisory Council, ARIBA, the ASEAN Coordination Committee on MSMEs, who spoke also yesterday, Kadin, Indonesia, and most likely we will working at least with the joint foreign chambers of commerce in Thailand, and possibly we are looking for the engagement in the Philippines. So that's basically where we are with ACEBA. We would welcome many more to join. So Lorraine, are you going to announce me that I will speak about something else now, or shall I just continue? So
Okay, so the next presentation, thank you, Thomas and Renee. Apologies for the technicalities. So our next presentation will be on an introduction to circular economy for ASEAN businesses, a unifying CE framework that unlocks the diverse and locally appropriate business solutions. And this will be presented by Dr. Renee Van Berkel, who is the co-convener of ACEBA and the senior expert of Switch Asia PSC, as well as the Thammasat University.
Okay.
Renee, please go ahead.
So then I will continue. Basically what, yes, am I audible on the? I need the presentation. So basically what I wanted to do is to elaborate a little bit more on the work that preceded the launch of ACEBA. So it's mobilizing business action on the circular economy. Can I get the presentation on the screen? I can see it now, yes. So basically the technical advisory, which was started August last year, late August, was called Mobilizing Business Action for Circular Economy in Southeast Asia, which was basically seeding the ground for ACEBA. So basically this side, basically there were three components which were identified. So first of all, we notified that circular economy, it means many different things to many different people. So we cannot move forward collectively if we don't get to a certain level of a shared understanding, not necessarily agreeing on everything, but at least knowing which direction to go. Then we thought that it would also be very important to break the barrier that people are saying this circular economy is not invented in ASEAN, it's not for ASEAN business. So let's document how ASEAN businesses are already moving forward on the circular economy agenda. And then the third one was to engage the business sector to make a business commitment and ambition. Well, that's history now because we have ACEBA launched. So the third component is really the launch of ACEBA. And we had the initial engagements then in the countries which started in October: Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. So basically we covered 7 countries. We clearly see that we have to see the circular economy as an evolving agenda, green agenda, which started with at the Rio conference in '92 already with sustainable consumption and production. In the 2000s, we saw basically green economy, green growth, green industry. And what we've seen the last 5 to 10 years is increasing prominence of the circular economy. And you can argue on what is the differences, but I think it's more important to think that the circular economy is about an economic transformation, a transition of the economy to circularity. But I think more important is to see that what is it really about if we talk about a circular economy. It is really providing us a systems perspective on the inflows of resources, so that's materials, energy and water, from the environment into the resource bases into the economy, and then the release of materials, energy and water as waste or as wastewater, as air emissions into the environment, and then looking at what is basically the impacts of that, the planetary impacts which are happening. And these planetary impacts we nowadays see in terms of the triple planetary crisis. Basically we see climate change, and we see loss of nature and biodiversity, and the accumulation of waste and pollutants. And all of those are largely, and then we can argue whether it's 55% or 60 or 70%, but they are largely driven by how much materials we consume. And circular economy is really considering about how materials, energy and water are consumed. So these are there then. So basically the main assumption is then that we need to somehow change from this linear model, is that we take out of nature, we make something, we use it and we throw it away, to something which is take, make, use, and recover. And I had to repeat and repeat and repeat because it's ultimately circular, so it has to be economic model. It sounds great, but then basically there's a great deal of diversity. And because of this diversity, we don't know how to act, and we talk in different languages. We talk cross purposes. And yes, you see as an example, the ABC of circular economy, you find so many definitions. I think recent last year publication found 250 plus definitions of circular economy. And every time you get a new definition, it becomes more complicated and less attractive to business, less to understand, less engaging, because it's more definitional in that sense. So basically, this is also a reflection of that we have different perspectives that basically inform the circular economy. And we see basically four main themes which are there. One is the ecosystem metaphor. So you can say in nature, nothing goes to waste. So we have waste which has to we can adopt these natural principles into the economic system, into society. And this has basically been known in the scientific community. This is basically the ecosystem metaphor or industrial ecology. Then we have basically also the precautionary principle, which was basically in the Rio Declaration, that we say that if in doubt, don't do it. If in doubt of environmental damage, if we don't know it for sure, then don't do it. And we have cultivated this over the years into basically in the waste management area, into reduce, reuse, recycle. And now we see with the circular economy, we see this extended from 3 R's to 9 R's to 25 R's. The R's are coming just everywhere. So remanufacture, refurbish, refuse, all those terms are coming. So basically based on the notion that there's a precautionary principle, but also the assumption that basically refurbishment would be better than remanufacturing or not. And this is all questionable. Then we have a third set of interpretations which are more focusing on the business model, because we go up a value hill. So if you get from raw materials to components to products, it gets more material. Once the product is lost, then it rolls down the value hill and becomes just a liability. So can we do something on recovering or maintaining the business value? So then we talk about slowing down the loop, so a longer time in use before it becomes waste, or we can talk about closing the loop and other perspectives. And the fourth component is probably more driven by the International Resources Panel, is saying that basically what we need to do is we need to break this dependency of economic growth and social development linked to aggravated environmental impact. So every time we grow the economy, we grow the environmental damage, we use more resources and so on. This is decoupling, and that's more living there. We have now seen most recently in May, the ISO launched standards on circular economy 59004, which is providing definitions, but I think we still will have a situation where there will be different interpretations, and this is not going to solve the challenge. So what we did is, in terms of facilitating the understanding, I would just have here some pictures. So you see that we were actually, this is pictures from Malaysia workshop, but we did these workshops, this business engagement, and we came up with, well, it sounds great, but what are we going to do? And we basically have to define a purpose, and that is the mitigate the triple planetary crisis, or to address the root causes of resource consumption. What's the scope? So if we want to mitigate the triple planetary crisis, we need to look at how we deal with resources, materials. What is the business case for this? So the rationale is really what Thomas was also speaking about, taking responsibility, and the responsibility creates then benefits. And then we need to look at how do we do that. That's basically innovation beyond traditional boundaries. And then ultimately, of course, we want to also advance social and environmental, social and economic progress. But principally, I want to emphasize that circular economy starts from a strong environmental rooting, and we don't want to immediately balance economic and social. We want to say, well, let's look from an environmental angle, what can we do? And once we have potential solutions, we look at the social and economic implications which are there. So that brought us to these guiding principles, which are here. They are also around there. Basically, it's reformulate what I just said. So we say that in circular and net zero are the same, because you can only have a circle if you don't lose anything. So it's net zero for climate, for nature and environment, triple planetary crisis. So if you want to do that with the resource use, you can either close the material cycle, which is resource circularity, or you do it more efficient, you use longer, or you do more with the same resource efficiency, or we can also substitute to nature, to renewables, so which are not finite. Then we adopt as the third one the responsible business, which is basically saying if we look at ISO 26000 or social responsibility, it talks about responsibility of an organization for the impacts on society and the environment. And if you say as a company, I put a product or a service on the market, I have an impact on how much materials is being generated, how much waste is being generated. So it's a responsible business topic. Then we put there that basically we need to do innovation, but we put there the word ideation and co-creation to emphasize that it's not just about rocket science, which is in a lab innovation, but it's about product development, it's about business solutions, which sometimes just apply common sense or well-known science and technology. So ideation, co-creation, and then ultimately the notion of net environmental benefits. But you could say that if we de-risk society from the impacts of climate change, we already have a great environmental and or great economic and social benefit. So then we got to the documenting of business cases. So these are just some tiles of there. We have currently 63 business cases analyzed and documented, and there's more in the pipeline. So we aim that maybe in the next months or so, we should probably have something like 80 business cases principally from Cambodia, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, but some from Myanmar, Laos, and Malaysia are being added right now. I think the screen is not following, but the business cases, what we have, you see they are distributed around the countries. We see different sectors, agriculture, automotive, fashion. Fashion, I put there also homewares, home textiles in there. So that's a relatively large share, but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on it. But I would just want to say we have looked for leaders. We have not really done a systematic identification, which is the best case. We just look for inspirational cases. So just to give you some examples, this is agriculture from Vietnam. So basically better rice cultivation practices, 60% reduction of GHG emissions from rice cultivation by using a lower planting density, so more tillers of rice for each stalk, and then you have less stalks, so you vent less methane and nitrous oxide. If you do alternative wetting and drying, so you don't flood the rice for the whole period, but shorter periods of time where it's necessary, you basically air the soil and there would be no methane and nitrous oxide formed. Optimizing the fertilizer use, so you don't wash it away, so 30% reduced. And then the residue management, so don't put everything back in the soil, but like try to accelerate the decomposition with enzymes. So they see then 15 to 20% yield increase. It's slightly more expensive, so the income increase is not quite exactly the same, but 7-8% income increase for farmers. Another one is from Cambodia, which is Fair Farms. They basically Kampot pepper, which is a very specific variety of pepper. They introduced a cover crop to prevent soil erosion, maintain soil quality, and improve irrigation, and yes, less use of fertilizers. And they actually put now intercrop with vanilla for crop symbiosis, so you grow two crops intercropping. You get an organic certification, a fair trade certification, so you get also the beneficial use there. So many examples of resource efficiency, basically. Then this is all, we go back to Vietnam, sorry, I jump across the region. This is coffee. So the coffee berry, you can transform it into a herbal tea from the previously discarded coffee husk. But if you want to do that, you have to treat the berries also as a product. You can't just treat them as a waste. So you have to look at the organic growth, less fertilizer, pesticides residues on the coffee, otherwise you can't make it, and then improve the harvesting and selection. You have a better coffee, and you have a second high value product out of this. Next example is the handicrafts, where we also see some examples. This is in Philippines. So this was an area devastated by one of the typhoons, and now they try to re-establish this grass, which is this long grass, which is a seagrass variety, which is now being utilized, and recovered the soil after the typhoon, improved the pre-processing, started solar drying. Traditional weaving techniques are used for mat, but also for new decorative items which are being introduced. So you get an increased harvesting frequency, better quality of the grass to use, new products, and improved income and livelihoods for farmers and weavers. So we talk about handicrafts, community, social enterprise, but also about main businesses there. This is in the fashion, this is Wakol in Thailand, manufactures brass, and they basically look at how they can start to use recycled materials. So PCR, post-consumer recycled bottles used as plastics, nylon from fishing gear, eco-foam with palm oil, and then they basically look also at reducing the material diversity by strapless, hookless brass, and then they aim to have 30% what Thailand calls biocircular green products by 2025. And they did a resource efficiency in the manufacturing operations, rooftop solar, and they also look at extending the use of brass by giving care instructions and end-of-life collection of the for energy recovery. So then in hospitality sector, Knai Bai Chat in Cambodia, basically 100% composting of organic food, of organic waste. They basically did also food waste minimization program, single-use plastic-free, further waste diversion, rooftop solar, sustainable local sourcing, then also resource efficiency, with LEDs, air conditioning, light controls, laundering, community and conservation initiatives, and also certified on this Green Growth 2050 program, which is quite ambitious. So you see also in the hospitality sector opportunities. You will notice that I skipped the Indonesian examples, which come a little bit later, but I wanted to just give a diversity of the interpretations. This is in the Vietnam, Nam Cao Kien Industrial Park, where they basically did the industrial symbiosis, so basically exchanges between tenant firms, waste from one company, particularly from the steel sector, becomes an input material for other sectors and byproducts. So they avoid more than 55,000 tons of material a year, and they have also done some common facilities, effluent treatment, waste recycling, green space, rooftop solar introduced, so many initiatives. It also goes, and I want to highlight that most of the examples where we see it, it's not just one intervention. It's a strategic intervention where some resource efficiency, resource circularity, and others are coming in. So that gave me my business cases. I also did a little bit of a breakdown here on what kind of enterprises are this. We see we have MSMEs, we have corporates, established corporates looking at it. We have startups looking at this. We have also seen social enterprise like the one from the Philippines, which I had in there. If you look at, we had this strategies of resource efficiency, circularity, and substitution. Then if you look at what's the most important among those, which is a bit trivial on how you look at this, but in terms of primary focus, many have been on basically on the resource circularity, 39 out of them, 20 displaced. That's the first one, resource efficiency. Some have as the first one, resource substitution. So it's a diversity of these combinations of different approaches. So it's not a single measure that changes a company or moves them forward. It's a strategic plan where multiple actions are being taken. Why are businesses getting involved? That's of course being asked. I think that we see 4 arguments coming. I don't see any argument coming on this screen, but on this one I can already see 2. So first of all is the cost saving. So that is particularly linked to the resource efficiency. So companies are seeing that they can save money by being more efficient in materials, energy, and water. And that's the story which has basically been known for some time, but we can really emphasize. The second component is really new business opportunity. And we see that in particular with the new materials, the startups, so solar energy, waste management, plastics recovery. There's new business opportunities in the circular economy. Third argument is that we see that companies are saying, well, we want to be, we've been in business for a few decades, we want to be in business for the next couple of decades, so we see that we need to change. So better to start looking forward to what we can do before we are actually forced to make changes. So they look at more at a proactive strategy like Wakol in Thailand, say that we have to do something, so let us try to work towards some finding out. And then there's this 4th group, probably we're saying that I don't have a view on this, but everybody talks about circular economy, so let's figure out. So if everybody talks about circularity, there should be some merit in it, so let's try to figure that out. So you can maybe say in terms of academic performance, you could say some is more preparedness, others are saying more the opportunity for this. But there's a combination of actions, and you would see it's not necessarily regulation that drives, but it's really business opportunity. So what appears to then drive success? I think that we find of 4 elements there. First of all is a purpose. So companies that we see here, they are strong in terms of understanding a bigger picture and how business can make a tangible contribution to this. So by how you go pepper, what you can do with coffee, how you can do with rice. So magnetic north, so a sense of purpose. So doing the circular economy with intent, one could say. Then, of course, all of them involve some level of innovation, and the innovation being not just the way the business model is done, but innovation in how materials, energy, and water are being utilized, whether it's that in a new product or new technology. So a material innovation or physical innovation. Then we see also, of course, knowledge is an important part. Knowledge-driven solution based in the formal knowledge, which is kind of the traditional innovation literature, but also building upon like these farming examples really show also traditional knowledge, skills, and culture being utilized. And of course, it is also an element of entrepreneurship. So who is seeing the opportunity, but who is the agent for change on delivering then on the turning a business idea into a successful business venture. I think, and then of course you could say what we hear everywhere as business saying we need technology, we need finance, and so on. But I think these 4 elements are really your assets to acquire the technology, to deal with the financing issues, and to deal with the market. So even if money is available, if you don't have the entrepreneurship, it will not work. If you don't have the innovation, it will not work. So we need to work on the internal or the integrated capabilities of enterprises to do this circular economy transition. What we have had as feedback from the business community is basically that there is an endorsement for this approach of more principles-based approach towards circular economy, and this is expanding. So people are saying, yes, we don't need to agree exactly on what circular economy is, but we need to know whether we go east, south, or west, and then we can still find out if we go to the west, whether we end up in Cairo or in Nairobi, so to speak. But we need to start moving in the direction and find out. And the business cases, and that's been emphasized by several people, it's really interesting what companies are doing, and it's really inspirational in that sense. So it's an actionable agenda for implementation of responsible business conduct. These all seem like abstract concepts, and with these practical solutions, one can move things forward. So challenges, of course, are still there. I have put it provocatively. There's a love affair with recycling. So everybody, first thing is really saying that circular economy, it's a recycling economy, and we sort of turn a blind eye to what is the negatives of recycling. So recycling typically means we lose material, we lose quality of material. It's also kind of a justification that basically it's fine to produce and consume in the way we do it. So recycling is also reinforcing the circular economy. So we need to get out of this point and saying that if we want to address recycling, we're basically addressing the problem from the wrong side of the stick. So if we want to avoid waste, we need to do at the upfront what's product design, what's the service design. I think that, of course, the terms of responsibility are a little bit a worry of what does responsibility mean. So we have to be careful on how we word this responsibility. But I think the trust is clear that it's a responsibility. We need to do this with intent and with integrity. And then the last one is maybe to get them started. So if we have these 5 guiding principles, they are abstract. We need a kind of as Jill put it, our other co-convener, we unfortunately could not be here. We need a kind of a staircase. So where do we get started? So this clearly we cannot do net zero tomorrow, but we can get strategies in place so that we move towards net zero in the longer run. I think that's basically it. The business cases are all online, so this is you can scan this what we released on the MSME Day a couple of weeks ago. So people who have contributed to this, thank you very much. I think we can open up for some comments and suggestions, isn't it? Or Lorraine, what are we doing next?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renee. Okay, now for us to discuss more about ACEBA, I would like to open the floor for any questions or comments and request Thomas to moderate the session. Do you have any questions or clarification?
Do we have questions online?
So far, no.
No. Okay. Anybody got any questions or anything? Yes, please.
Right. Thank you, Thomas and Rene, for the presentation of ACEBA. And first of all, congratulations for this. My name is Noto. I'm the head of Global Strategy and Economic Diplomacy at Kadin, and also a program director at the ASEAN Business Advisory Council Indonesia. Probably not really question, but I'm sure that you want to respond to this. But I have 3 points to start. Maybe if we continue the discussion further. First, I'd like to appreciate one of the guiding principles, which is the co-creation. I think we've heard this quite some time, but it's rarely been used in a concept like a circular economy. I mean, my first time to read about this. And the way I look at this as very precious words, because we don't want one of many sides or actors imposing and pushing their standards and norms about circular economy, but whether to co-create together, right? I like the point of what Rene mentioned. We might need to disagree about the definition, the concept of circular economy, but we know the direction that we want to pursue. So that's something important for us too. Because to be honest, when we talk about any or many sustainable concepts, we might feel like a bit pessimistic or even like a bit agnostic about, is it about standards? Is it about norms, right? Which is something that for a country like Indonesia, we might need to have some careful steps. That's my first point. My second point, I just read a couple of articles that also my team sent it to me about any resistance or any cases in Indonesia where they show there are some problems of implementing circular economy. And actually, we found some articles. I'll send it to Thomas after this. But basically, there is like a debate among actors, which I'm sure they know already about circular economy. I mentioned it here. It's an association of waste management business in Indonesia. At Kadin, actually, almost 200 different associations part of Kadin. And I'm sure this is also one of us, our members. And they're debating with expert of circular economy coming from universities. So what they do is that they address some of the misconception that Indonesian public or customers see from what companies have done in terms of promoting circular economy. So basically greenwashing. So there was a debate like that, and the experts saying like, no, it's a misconception. The association, no, this is what we think. The government say, hey, this is the standard that we impose about this, because as Ms. Novita mentioned, we have actually the action plan already. So what I mean is that by sharing about this is that hopefully ACEBA can be one of the credible entity or institution that can actually tell about what are the misconceptions that are present in the public, and how do the relevant stakeholders able to address that well. Can you imagine people who already understand circular economy, like expert and then association, they already have some, different opinions, which is great. And we can imagine what's about the general public. They don't know about this concept. They might not be involved about this. So that's actually one of the role that ACEBA can play. I'm sorry, one more point, if I may. We are very closely working with the incoming government's economic team. And one of the key flagship economic policies that the new government will impose or will implement as food security. And we are actually glad to see that some of the example that Rene mentioned in your presentation is actually related to agricultural sectors. I'm wondering, because when they present to us at Kadin or at the business sectors, Indonesian businesses, there are three elements of food security they prioritize on. First is availability. Second is affordability, which is about price. And third is about quality. So they care about, oh, this is cheap, this is available and good quality. But they are missing one point after I listened to this presentation, which is the sustainability part of the food production. So I don't know if ACEBA is, of course, Thomas is very influential. You can also probably like prepare some, like briefings, notes to many of the governments across Southeast Asia to not forget about this aspect of the food production, right? We might be able to eat well, can buy it very cheaply, but what's about the waste of this entire food production system? So that's something that I would like to propose. So this is not question, this is point of discussion. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that valuable point.
Yeah. Can I maybe?
So maybe a quick message. Yes, this request, particularly on the third point, because the first and second points, I think it's for Thomas and Rene as co-conveners, also Jill to respond. But with respect to the third one, while being channeled through ACEBA, Switch Asia can also support it from different perspectives. So to look really at the agri-food system and sustainability of the food systems across the whole supply chain within the framework of resilience of food system and sustainability, and perhaps work with ACEBA as already self-walking, self-breathing entity, but add this kind of activities and expertise to ACEBA to channel it through ASEAN and maybe even beyond. So that's very good point, which we are happy to promote and support from additional, through ACEBA, but through additional activities of Switch Asia. So that would be something quite interesting and important. Agree.
Yeah, thank you, Noto, for comments. I think that your point on the co-creation is well taken, and I think we really like to say that don't try to copy and paste, but try to think what makes sense for your business, and that is essentially what we do. Co-creation. We don't want to necessarily call it innovation, because then it becomes to labs and like something which can be done in 5 or 10 years. So it's something which can be done. So co-creation is really there, and also emphasizing that we need to collaborate with the supply chain partners or with waste management partners in there. I think on the debate on waste management, experts and so on, a lot comes back, and maybe I can be, if I'm not quoted, I can be quite blunt, but there's also some circular economy happening, which basically should not happen. So we should not recycle hazardous waste into roads or into bricks where people are then exposed to it. Or if we put plastics into bricks, for example, just to take some examples, we have to have a plan on what we are going to do with these bricks. Because if the house is being broken down and we put this in a concrete and demolition C&D waste facility, it becomes just microplastics, which end up in our food chain. And I think this is really the system thinking that we need to get to do with that. And unfortunately, there is also some businesses which are doing this with maybe more intent to try to get rid of to discharge of an environmental responsibility ultimately. So out of sight, out of mind, and after us comes somebody who can clean up. And that is really the challenge with the circular economy. So that we think, yes, recycling is in principle good, but let us also think what is the system solution? So if we put something into a next use, what can we do? Repeat. What can we do circularly? What is the hazardous materials? I'd rather put a hazardous material in a safe storage somewhere rather than exposing the community again. So that is, I guess, the challenge which is happening. And I can see that industry at times might have, I can make some money, so let's take the quick buck. Let's be honest on that. And I think on the food system, yeah, there's many applications also on food preservation, new technologies which can be done to bring in this sustainability, look at innovations, local innovations. We had some examples which are really nice, but there's many other things are possible, and we could, with Switch Asia or with others, look at basically getting baskets of solutions which farmers or community groups might do from a circularity perspective. Whether it be solar dryers, solar heaters, or organic waste, which can all be done in the food sector. Thank you. Sorry to be a bit longer, but...
Not long, a bit. Any other points you make? Okay, if there are... Yes, Felix?
So this is just out of curiosity, because I see that in many cases there are cases that are seeking to like minimize waste throughout the, like trying to use resources as efficient as possible, right? And there are some companies that focusing on, there's already this waste, let's try to make use and try to add value, right? So I think there's like this preventive measures and the corrective measures in some cases, right? And I just want to see from the cases that you have seen in ASEAN, in many ASEAN countries, and perhaps is there like a particular approach that are being approached or more like preferred, like in large cities they might seek to try more on the corrective measures by looking at the waste, and they try to turn this waste into more value-added products, or like in rural communities they are trying to see this as a way to make use things as efficient as possible. Like, is there this principle of abundance and scarcity at play? Like for us in the cities, we don't consider all of this waste because we see it's abundance, we can access it easily. But in rural communities that might value things more, right? They might see this as something very limited and should be valued. And from your cases and your experience throughout ASEAN, what's the way people think on that?
Yeah, I must say we have looked, of course, more at the business community, so I can't really speak for civil society and so on, so that's a bit different. But I guess that, circularity has the kind of connotation that we start with where the waste is and what are we going to do with waste. So in your language, that might be corrective action. But I guess that we are posing the point of why would you try to fix the problem if you can avoid it? So the efficiency agenda comes always there. And it's quite clear, we talk about too much plastics waste from packaging. So what we should do is optimize and do industrial design of packaging so that we have less packaging materials. That would be the simplest way to go rather than substitute by some other materials. So it is a kind of a balance in there, and therefore we are saying that it's basically three strategies which you have to do. It's efficiency, which is your preventative approach, it's circularity, which is your curative, and also let's look at where we can use Mother Nature better.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, if not, we can, yes.
First of all, thank you very much. A nice discussion, and maybe I'll try to give you some information. Oh, I'm Salil Dutt. I'm from United Nations Industrial Development Organization. I'm based in Jakarta. So in fact, we have been doing certain activities in circular economy. We are now implementing the phase 2 of Global Eco-Industrial Park program. And you may be aware that in the recent, or let's say latest international framework for eco-industrial parks, there are 64 benchmarks, and that also included one benchmark specifically for circular economy, but many other benchmarks in the environmental performance areas, and they talk about renewable energy, waste, recycling and efficiencies and all that. So we are also going to introduce this circular economy in industrial parks in Indonesia. The second phase is started from January. And what we are trying to do is, and we can definitely collaborate for that, we actually, under the Ministry of Industry decree, there was an interministerial forum which was created to advance or accelerate the development or transformation of industrial parks into eco-industrial parks about 2 years back in 2022. And we have thematic discussions in those roundtables. So we are organizing 2 roundtables every year. And our last roundtable was also in circular economy, where 11 ministries joined. So this can actually complement some of the work at the ministerial or let's say policy level. We also did some kind of mapping of certain policies which are relevant to circular economy. And we found about 30 plus policies which are actually needs to be prioritized if we really want to implement circular economy in industrial parks. And when I say industrial parks, it has both industrial park management and the tenant companies in that. So that is one area where the collaboration can happen. For sure. Another, I would like to underscore what Rene said. You know, there are always preventive kind of preventive kind of strategies which can be implemented, resource efficient and cleaner production. We also had this RECP program in Indonesia, which continued for a long time. So that is one. However, and you know, many companies are trying to do this waste to energy. So we have cases we were also talking about this morning. Waste segregation takes place in the industries and finally it goes to the same dumper. You know, everything, 4 bins are loaded in a same container and that goes to mass burn technology which generates electricity from waste. So is it recycling or is it circular economy? So every waste to energy plant is not circular economy. Waste segregation, there are a lot of strategies which can be applied before we finally generate energy out of it. Second is there has to be some mindset shift from process to product, right? And I think circularity starts with product innovation. Process can always be optimized, but somehow we need to have some cases where people developed certain products thinking of circularity. One case which Rene showed for Wacol, I mean, this is a product innovation. There is one company also in Batam which is actually manufacturing products from plastic waste, and they are manufacturing this home appliances. So those can be good cases. That the industrial park which Rene mentioned is now it is really wonderful industrial park. They also have one booklet with publication on circular economy. Mr. Diep must have given to you. So I think a lot of things has to be done in circular economy. Indonesia already selected 5 sectors, and preparedness, I think a lot of things are going on, and I see a good future of circular economy in Indonesia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. I think your next consultations involve our friends from Kadin, and I get that. Thank you. I think there's a good insights, and shall we move on to the next part of the agenda? Thank you very much for all your contributions.
Thank you, Thomas. And thank you to all who provided their interventions, questions as well. And for the next part of the agenda, we will not have a coffee break, but I would like to request anyone who would like to get refreshments outside and some snacks, please do so at your own convenience. And we'll move on to the next session, which is the presentation of the business cases. So we are privileged to have 2 participants who are joining us today. And we will move on to the presentations of the circular economy business experiences in Indonesia, starting first with the PT Pan Brothers, who will be represented by Mr. Bodhi Satrio, who is the Business Development and Investor Relationship and General Manager of PT Pan Brothers. Can you please join me on the stage for your presentation? Thank you, and let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think I will make it simple, not too heavy for everybody. Just to showcase the example, I think the friends from Kadin have seen it quite many times. In many occasions, we always met each other to present about Pan Brothers.
I think I only have one slide, so I won't have a difficulty to switch the slides. Just for those of you who don't know Penn Brothers, Penn Brothers is a garment manufacturing company. Has been established since 1980 and becomes public in 1990. In terms of the employees, currently we have about 23,000. In terms of the location, we have in Central Java, which is the biggest one, and then on the West Java. If we look at the profile of the employees, we have about 4,000 in West Java, and the rest of that will be in Central Java. Total facilities is around 20. If you look at the picture, there are solar panels installed, probably not so clear on this side. We have been using the renewable energy since 2021. And in terms of the capacity, I think it's about almost 2 megawatts. And currently we're expanding into other factories with a total of about 4.5 megawatt. So main of the energy that we use is electricity. So hopefully by that time, in terms of the capacity, probably we're talking about between 30 to 40% of the renewable energies. Probably you cannot see on this side, there are customers, brand customers. Adidas is mainly the longest customer of Penn Brothers. If you look at Adidas, most of the materials that they use is recyclable materials. So it's about over 65% of the materials that they use for the jackets, it's mainly renewable, recyclable materials. So with that, I think as discussed with Rene, it starts from the design. Yeah, and Adidas was thinking about from the design, so using the friendly materials. In the next video that I want to show is basically giving you an idea that from the cutting waste that we produce in all factories, we can make those cutting waste into more usable products. In the video, you'll see that from the cutting waste, we segregate it with based on the color, also from the material type, cotton, polyester, or nylon. And then from there, we do a collaboration with small and minor companies, enterprise, to make it such as fabrics, small fabrics. Second one is rugs, is a carpet. It is used for tier 2, tier 3 cities in Indonesia. And then the third one is that we use to our uniform. So basically from our waste, we collaborate with other company and we make it into the fiber. And then from the fiber, we make it another fabrics. So that fabrics will be used for the uniform for all our factories. So that's how we do this innovative thinking. The one thing that you have to do is try to find out what would be the result of the waste, because our waste will become another source of other company as a materials. Yeah, so that's why we always thinking about to optimize and advance our waste. So let's see the video. Can you play the video? Yeah, that's the video. I think the key message here is about collaborations and the waste that we produce is someone else's a source of material. So that we can do a more circular economy around the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Satrio. Okay, our next presentation will be coming from Electrum. May I invite Mr. Patrick Adiadmaja, who is the Managing Director of Electrum, to give his presentation. Please join me on stage. Again, let's give him a round of applause.
Well, thank you. Thank you, and good morning to distinguished guests, and thank you also for inviting me in this event and forum. What I would like to share with you today is it's more of the sharing the experience of developing a two-wheel EV ecosystem in Indonesia, and where the circular economy, if you will, angle at the end of the presentation would pan out, if you will. But the idea is developing the two-wheel EV ecosystem in first and foremost, right? And so, if I can have the presentation. All right, next slide. Okay, just to share with you who and what is Electrum. Electrum is a joint venture between TBS Energy Utama, a publicly listed company in Jakarta, predominantly starting as a coal mine company, and transform itself to become a holistic energy company, as well as you may know Goto, which is a Gojek and Tokopedia, the biggest digital platform in Indonesia that serves online ride-hailing, e-commerce, and whatnot. Both companies have a similar if you will, target as far as zero emission is concerned. In TBS, it is coined as TBS 2030 to be a better towards a better society, thriving economy, empowered people, as well as trusted partner in that sector. Whereas Gojek or Goto have 3 zeros in their company objective: zero emissions, zero waste, and zero barriers, if you will, for inclusivity. Both company form Electrum, to one of which is to manifested the zero emission target by 2030. Next slide, please. Okay, so the milestone of Electrum itself, it started in end of 2021. A joint venture was set up. Early in 2022, we commenced a pilot project test with Go Right Electric, one of the new service that the online ride-hailing company is testing. At that time, we bought available solution, available EV in the market, and tested, get insights, get a lot of feedback from Gojek drivers, and based on that, we develop our own platform, if you will. Throughout the pilot test, we use about 350 two-wheel EV, and in the span of less than 6 months, we have accumulated 1 million kilometers just by this driver taking orders and whatnot. So it was quite impressive. It was quite encouraging point of data, and we developed our prototype. April 2023, we got our first motorcycle prototype after about a year of R&D. We surpassed the electric vehicle test and certification by the Indonesian government. We did the stress test, if you will, testing the motorcycle of 20,000 kilometers within a span of 1 month through many different scenarios, uphill, downhill, flood, 200 kilograms of payload, and things like that. So it is a robust product development, if I may say so. In June, we started to think that this business is going to, the adoption of this business is going to be, tremendous. We think we should start developing our own factory, at the very least, assembling facility that takes place in eastern part of Jakarta, in Cikarang. In November, we commercially launched our first service, and what I would like to also share with you, the business can be divided into two, if you will, bucket. One is the development, assembling, and selling the motorcycle, pretty much like a traditional automotive business. The other part of the business is running a battery as a services business, where we sell the motorcycle without the battery. They have to subscribe to us, and we put battery swap systems at this point in around Jakarta. We have about 250-ish battery swap system. And the primary idea of why we choose the battery as a service business is because of the number one, range anxiety, to reduce range anxiety, and practicality. If Gojek driver have to take a downtime of 2 hours during the day to charge the battery, they lost the productive time. So by swapping, it just only take them like 30 seconds, even faster than refueling your gasoline in any gas stations, right? And number two, I don't know if you guys know, in Indonesia, household electricity is capped by the government, right? 1,300 watts. That is the average. As a matter of fact, the average household in Indonesia only consume 1,200 and change of watt a month. So that is the if you will, the current condition and situation, if the Gojek driver has to charge at their house or rented room, then probably half of the household electricity will be used only to charge the motorcycle, right? And it becomes impractical in a way. And so we tried the system. Gojek driver loves it, and our system is developed using sort of like pay as you go. It is like your handphone prepaid pulse, if you will. So you buy the electricity prepaid, and then you use it as and when you need to top it up. We develop also the IoT of the system of the company to control and to run the battery operation system. And so coming back to this, we surpassed the local content requirement by the government. And, I think the bottom line is this. To date, we have commercialized 3,000-ish motorcycle on the road. Most of it are still with Gojek driver. We are starting testing the market for the real B2C market, right? From that 3,000, although it is not like day one 3,000, it's continues to develop. But from the first commercial date of Electrum in October, November of last year, we have accumulated 20 plus million kilometers. That is quite a number. 200 total battery swap stations. And those 250 battery swap stations have consumed 1 gigawatt of electricity, right? Now, if we calculate it back, 1 gigawatt of electric consumption in Indonesia, the average energy or emission produced by the power plant in Indonesia is ranging, I forgot the number, but we then net it off with the 20 million kilometer that we avoided to produce the emission by the ICE motorcycles, right? And the 830 ton CO2 equivalent is the savings that the company has created so far, less than 1 year in commercial operation. So that is something that we could be proud of, and I think it is a good foundation to move forward. And oh, sorry. Yeah, this is a bit of the explanation of what I just mentioned to you. So the business is electric motorcycle, battery as a service, and the Internet of Things, which encapsulate the first two column, if you will. And last but not least, let's try to gel into the theme of today's event. I take some of the numbers from Switch Asia existing facts and data, like 89% reduction in off-the-life cycle GHG emission for electric motorcycle, 830 metric tons, as I just mentioned to you, 26% reduction of life cycle GHG. And what I would like to highlight here is driver partner. Gojek drivers are partners, just like Uber driver. It's they're not their employee. So in a way, they are business in it by itself. And by providing the system, it creates opportunity for them to get a higher income. Stable household economic. So here's the thing. These guys don't live. In the beginning, we tried to sell motorcycle as, what you may call it, total cost of ownership between ICE and electric vehicle. 5 years view. They were flabbergasted, don't know what we're talking about, right? What they know is, what can I bring home tomorrow on a daily basis, right? That is I think a lot of situations in Indonesia, in the lower segment. It's just like that, right? And so we created a daily payment scheme for the drivers to pay rent and payment to our company. So that helps them, if you will, calculate in their mind, what can I bring home by the end of the day, right? And then transition to a better sustainable urban environment. Some of them get it, some of them say, yeah, if gasoline motorcycle is cheaper, I'll just still use it, right? As a fact of life, right? Some of our drivers said that to augment the first point is that on a daily basis, they save up to 40% of the fuel cost as compared to paying electricity. And that is the fact that these guys like, and therefore the adoption is starting to pick up quite strongly, although, and then they have other issue. What do I do with my existing motorcycle? Normally, 90% of the motorcycle is acquired through financing, right? And so they're not done with that. But they said, once I'm done with that, I'll switch to EV. And so that is an encouraging point as well. I think last but not the least is on the business, on the battery reuse and recycle. I think by running a battery as a services business, we know exactly if you will, the state of health of each of the battery, because it belongs to us. And therefore, when we talk about reuse and recycle as the next stage, we're seeking collaboration partner who would be able to reuse a battery before they recycle. And the deal would be B2B. They don't have to scramble around the city looking for batteries, but they deal with us directly. And, and we can show them all the data of the battery, state of health, the use of the battery, and whatnot. And so I think that is more of we would like to become more of a trusted partner of the next use of the battery. I think that's, in short, I don't know if it really answered the circular economy, but at least we're trying to contribute in the circular economy development in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adhyatmaja. And next, we will learn more about the other business cases from Indonesia, which will be presented by Dr. Rene. And can we request the PowerPoint earlier to be shown on screen? Thank you.
But maybe I can just respond to Patrick. Is this circular economy? I think certainly the EV transition is a circular economy. You already have the resource efficiency straight away with the fuel efficiency and energy savings. I think the reuse and recycling of the battery is another option. But I think also you have to see this in the long-term transition of making transport ultimately fully sustainable with once the day comes that we would have all renewable power. So if you can see this as an enabling technology for resource substitution, I think that's really also useful. So I think if we see where we are, because I wanted to, can we get the presentation? I basically wanted to, yes, so this is I see it here. So you come all please here, then you can see. We have to be smart. So basically,
Next slide.
yeah. So we have the 7 business cases that are on online, including the Electrum and Palm Brothers. So I wanted to just highlight what is in the other 5 ones, and then also show you a glimpse of what is in the pipeline for the business cases. So this is Burr Greens, also relatively known, but they basically work on vegan food. So replacing meat and other animal proteins with plant and fungi-based proteins. So they basically redeveloped vegan versions of popular dishes and international dishes. Did a lot of work on food waste minimization and developed a value chain with the farmers. They started basically as a small startup with just a few kitchens in Bali and Jakarta, and now it's a spin-off. Green Rebels Frozen Vegan Food is an international company, so it's quite advanced in terms of also resource efficiency, which is being achieved with the more efficient use of the proteins. This electrum I will not speak about because Patrick covered that. Then in terms of which is a bit of the symbiosis approach is the great giant fruits, which is basically the system which is highlighted here. So the largest grower of bananas and pineapple, and then the waste from the processing is being used to extract the enzymes which are being used for useful application, and the waste is also used for feeding the cows, and the manure from the cows is then being utilized to generate biogas. Biogas is used for the heating and for the other for power generation, and the waste which is left from biogas is going to composting and then going in ultimately back to the farming and the plantations. So this is all very much as a large integrated operation. The symbiosis, waste from one business unit becomes the input to the other business unit. But they also then highlight and extend that with precision agriculture, drones and digitalization, so much better control. They've also done some work on recycled content packaging, basically also on all the cans which they use, the plastic which they use, and they have also on-site plastics recycling plant which is now there. So also quite a good example of really mainstream business taking this forward. This is a very interesting example. Mycotech Lab from Bandung. They basically use the same process as tempeh. At the traditional dish, you use the mycelium to grow then sustainable materials from waste. So basically mylee, which is then a leather substitute, and biobo, which is basically a bio-based hard material which can be used for furniture. So they use the currently backlogs, which is used for mushroom growing as the feedstock. But of course, this is using waste as a resource, but the waste is not disappearing because you grow it and you have still the organic waste, but then the organic waste goes to composting, which is there. And then of course, they have a new product which goes into leather bags and shoes and potential for areas. So they also see there a lot of opportunities for resource efficiency. So basically during the 2 years that they're now working on processing this leather into shoes and bags, they've also achieved 30 to 58% greenhouse gas emission reduction for the different products. And of course, the processing is much more efficient than bovine leather, for example. And then in terms of resource substitution, they're also trying to use now natural dyes, so plant extracts for the leather, for the leather which is there. So very interesting, typical example of a startup business coming out of basically a biotech company, coming into the circular economy area. Pan Brothers, we have heard, and SBI is cement industry. Basically, they were Solusi Banggu Indonesia, SBI. Basically, they set up in biological pre-treatment of municipal waste. Municipal waste is too wet to actually use for cement making, so you use too much energy. So it's basically drying and then also partially decomposing of the municipal waste. And then they have basically the 160-ton municipal solid waste becomes then a substitute energy source for them. So their energy use of industrial waste as an alternative fuel has increased by 48% in a couple of years. So quite substantive work on alternative fuels for cement making. Then this one is also very interesting. Wege is basically doing a modular construction. So instead of you do prefabricated units, which you put together as a building, and that's prefabricated and pre-fitted. So that's the basic fittings for electricity and sewer and water connections are in there. And then it can be flat packed, so it can be transported. And then basically what is the advantage? It can be reused as a building. The example which was there at one of the COVID hospitals was, or several of the COVID hospitals were built with this method. And the example of the biggest one is 2,400 square meters.
and it moved from 1,400 tons of material, which would be used if it was traditional material, traditional building, to only using 208 tons of materials. So it's almost a factor 7 decrease of the materials consumption. And because the building is much lighter, you can also get away with most of the foundations. You can say from 720 cubic meters of concrete to 480 tons of concrete. The hospital has been disassembled and is now standing in Nusantara, in the new capital, as a hostel facility. So this is also very interesting in the perspective of how do we change then construction and building practices. I think that's these are just the 5 other ones, but there is this is the list of other ones which we have in the pipeline, with the Yoon and Nia still working on. So there's also some textile examples, fashion examples, some food processing, pulp and paper. So we are looking at different examples, but it's basically emphasizing that we have also a larger group of business cases in addition to what Patrick and Sudhir were presenting from Palm Brothers and Electrum. But I think we can open up for a little bit more, Lorraine, for a bit more sharing of experiences, and then moving on to how we take ACEBA forward. So maybe it's...
Is there any questions, any clarifications, any comments? One of the good things of having a seminar in fine of the marriage is that when you go for marriage ceremony, they say if anybody got anything to ask, say it now or remain silent forever. But here, you don't have any questions now, you can still raise it later. Okay? So don't have to remain silent forever. After all, we are not getting married.
Thank you, Dr. Renee and Thomas. To move to our next session, I would like to first request for the video to be shown, which highlights the different business cases that were published through the Switch Asia Policy Support Component in partnership with ASEAN CSR Network. And I would like also to thank again the companies who have joined us in developing these business cases, as well as our experts, Dr. Renee for guiding in finalizing the business cases, as well as our national experts, Dr. Nia, Sarina Stiti, and Dr. Yoon Arifatal Fatima. Please stand up to give you a round of applause, please, for them. Thank you. Okay, so now we will present the video. Is it ready?
We all share one planet that supports our lives. Clean air, water, food, and a habitable climate are at risk due to the overconsumption of materials. Some businesses are addressing this challenge by adopting circular and low-carbon solutions. Supplying local premium water in refillable glass bottles avoids the energy use of shipping water globally, prevents plastic pollution, and rewards local communities for their water stewardship. Turning rice husk into biochar for agricultural use regenerates the soil and minimizes the need for chemical fertilizers and energy for irrigation. Connecting factories so that the waste from one industry is used as raw material for another industry. Adopting advanced technology and digitalization to conserve energy, minimize fabric waste, and turn waste fabric into new fabric. Making premium mattresses affordable with a subscription service that guarantees recycling and material recovery at the end of their life. By changing the way things are designed, produced, consumed, and returned for repeat use, we switch to a circular economy where natural systems are regenerated. Southeast Asia is home to 70 million businesses. Some are taking action, yet more are needed for the circular economy transition. Play your part. Share your business story. Learn what companies in Southeast Asia are already doing.
Okay, thank you. So now may I invite again Dr. Renee to join me on stage to present the next session, which is joining the ASEAN Circular Economy Business Alliance and presenting the modalities on operation of ACEBA.
Yes, I think we come to a bit of the business end on how we would organize then ACEBA in Indonesia, and I would really like to use this just to repeat a little bit of what is expected from participants, and then we can maybe discuss a bit on what could be priorities. Some of the areas have already noted, you suggested maybe food or other items, but I would like to maybe open the floor for suggestions on what could be initial priorities or sectors or focus topics which are there. So I think that ACEBA is, as Thomas said, it's ASEAN-centric, so really trying to find the opportunities which are specific to, goes too fast, for the operationalization and implementation of the ASEAN Circular Economy Framework, but also to support, of course, what Bapenas has done as the national roadmap and strategy. We want to see this as business-led, so basically for business in terms of providing inspiration and also of business in terms of leadership on which directions we want to take, and that's why we would like to partner with Kadin. And we are clearly looking for a combination from the participants from kind of leadership, so speaking out on circular economy, but also walking the talk, so a bit of the both elements. There's an opportunity that we would like to see for engagement with policymakers, with other initiatives, and Vita earlier from the EU also mentioned this. So how can we translate the business experiences into something which is of meaningful for circular economy policy, for initiatives, for financial instruments which are being designed? So how can we take the best practices and not necessarily lobby one way or another, but just inform the formulation of policy and strategy. And I think where we would like to highlight, and that's why I put the 5 principles there back again, we would like to say that let's go for a principles-based approach, which is focusing on the triple planetary crisis: resource efficiency, circularity, substitution, and responsibility. So a bit along the lines which we have highlighted, which is a much broader interpretation than many others would have, but which gives also an opportunity for more businesses to get on the bandwagon, so to speak, for circular economy transition and be a powerful force for change in Indonesia and in the region. Thomas already highlighted this, so participants is basically a little bit similar to the ones who are maybe familiar with the UN Global Compact. You have a set of principles which you basically subscribe to and say, yes, I will try to obey by this, and then I pledge to work on this. I pledge that I will also be communicating on what I'm actually doing in a way to contribute to this community of practices. Country leads is basically business membership organizations, so Kadin went more working for as a spokesperson, so to speak, for the ACEBA in the country, because we see this as a regional initiative, but a regional should have a hub and spoke kind of approach, that we have a solid grounding in each of the countries. And then the regional hub, which will be ARIBA and the support with Switch Asia to be more of the knowledge base. So working on the operational tools and practices, trying to see what lessons learned are there from the different parts. So I see the regional hub as a bit of the think tank or the knowledge repository, and then the country leads more as the advocates in the country to also voice some of the messages learned to your engagement with government, with other initiatives, and the companies, of course, to be supported as the vehicle for implementation of the vision of business leadership for circular economy transition. So lead by example, we say it for businesses, and that this is then what we have as the 4 items which are there. It's a bit long language, but the first one is really saying that promote and advance the circular economy transition in business relationships. So speak out on this, see what your suppliers have to offer on circular solutions, what you can do with your customers and with community and engagement. So not necessarily remain silent, but remain a spokesperson on that. The second one is to say that proactive steps to develop and implement circular economy solutions in current and potential future products. So that is looking at your business development activities, products, technologies, services, which we have seen many businesses have done with these business cases. The third is then a request to communicate on activities and impact. So kind of a brief update, what kind of things are being done and what is the progress on the implementation, maybe with some simple circular economy indicators, which we have also worked on. And then the fourth one is if you join ACEBA, then maybe also share your stories with ACEBA, share your experiences in that. So it's not bound to certain targets or achievements like you have with the science-based in targets initiatives or with some other initiatives, so like 30% reduction of A, B, and C with the plastic packs, which are operational. But we just want to get more businesses onto doing the right things and moving forward towards circular economy transition. So the country leads are then basically leading business member organizations in ASEAN member states that act as a nodal agency, the local spoke in this, and that spearhead the development, expansion, and promotion of ACEBA in the respective country. And then we present also speak on ACEBA within the country, because as a regional initiative, it will not be possible and not be efficient to engage and also engage in a local language with the different initiatives. And of course, we are also, we are standing at the booth in that sense, so we have to redevelop some of the procedures still, but we will expect the country leads to give also some guidance on where the priority should be for the regional hub there. I think that's the ideas on the operationalization. I think we would be very keen to get some of your thoughts on how we can make ACEBA work for the circular economy transition in Indonesia. So what are your thoughts on how we can mobilize participants, get from Pan Brothers and some of the other companies which have shown already initiative to a larger group of companies that we can say, okay, with numbers can also speak to that. What best practices are there that we can maybe consider to further develop and do? What would be priorities for knowledge sharing, capacity building? What opportunities do you see for partnerships? So I basically say, Thomas, isn't it? The floor is yours. The floor is everybody's. So thank you. So maybe we can get some feedback from the group, from the floor on some of these questions.
I think what I want to reinforce that ACEBA is ASEAN-centric, it's for business, of businesses, and since you are representatives, it's of you and for you. So I think we like to hear your points, what you think is important and how we could build it up to reinforce the message. Any views?
Thank you. Just make it short. I think by listening and looking into the business cases that you have presented in Indonesia, I have one question that makes me curious, and hopefully it can be part of the knowledge repository and the capacity building that ACEBA is working on, which is from many of the business cases in Indonesia, what is the main, so we talk about government and policy intervention. So of course it's necessary, but to what extent the policy and government intervention is required to stimulate more businesses in Indonesia to implement circular economy, right? Not only incentives, but other intervention. I look into your presentation, and in many Southeast Asian countries, even some of the good examples are coming from the local region. So the next question will be is that, okay, we need intervention. We know to what extent it's required, but which one is actually playing the more pivotal role? Is it like the central government or is the local government? Or if both sides are required, how do they divide the intervention to the circular economy? I think it's really important to also be a policy framework that we can also deliver to whatever the policymakers are, whoever the policymakers are. So I think that framework is, for me, it's important to be part of your knowledge repository. Thank you.
Thank you. As moderator, I will answer a very difficult question. Yours is a very simple question. So Rene, you answer.
Okay, yeah, I would almost say it's horses for courses. So we see so much diversity. I mean, Patrick would say that for your EV transition, you need policies on the EV transition. And that's quite different from what you have on textiles, which would be things on fast fashion, on what is the product passport, which is coming in the EU. So it's quite different. So it's almost nearly impossible to say what is the specific circular economy policy. We can see that we have also some examples where we say, okay, policy, well-intended policy has become a barrier to circular economy. I can't give you the specific example from Indonesia, but let me share the example from Cambodia, where there's, of course, the textile and the travel goods industry is in special economic zones. They have all the garment waste, which is 15-20% cutting waste, which is there. The only way they can do with it, there would be good opportunities to actually use it, but even the community groups cannot use it because it's in special economic zone, so it has to be incinerated. It cannot be sold locally. So you would say this is a good intent to stimulate economic development with the special economic zones, but it works out in a way that it works absolutely counterproductive in this area of wanting to do something on resource efficiency. We've also seen examples of water sharing that's not possible. So I think we should really try to delve a little bit deeper in subsectors and see what is useful for the EV transition, what is useful for sustainable or circular apparel, what could be the opportunities. And some of them, if you do circular agriculture, then it will be more customized solutions, like the rice example. We have 2 example case studies on agriculture coming forward from the sago and on the dame cultivation. So that's more local solutions which are there. But it's also true, and your observation is right, that many of these examples have happened irrespective of policy. So policy has played a role in general sense of direction, but it's not driven by government policy. It's driven by companies who see an opportunity. I think Patrick wants to come in. So, yes.
Thank you. I kind of like rhyme with Pak Noto. And I think the case study is so wide range, which is not applicable for all countries, even within ASEAN. So I think the country lead, in this case Indonesia, has to focus on probably certain aspect of the circular economy, if you will, and then have probably 2 or 3 streams that are focusing on the priorities. Because without prioritization, I think we're, it's becoming too wide of a battlefield that we need to cover. I think by focusing in 2 or 3 areas in Indonesia, having 2 or 3 streams led by each of the, business leaders and whatnot, then we can create some impact. And then if other business, other sectors wants to also, and if you will, come to share their cases or for their cases to be, if you will, have some attention by the government, then we can do along the way. But without tackling the low-hanging fruits, this will only be concept and talks and no action, if you will. I'm sorry for using that word, but we need to focus on 2 or 3 businesses and then just focus on it. That's my feedback, if you will. Itu Pak Noto. Mungkin sama kali ya kita ya.
It's kind of saying, Patrick, take it as a general approach to promote a broad spectrum circular economy action, but have a few spearheading industries or sectors where we drive change more vigorously, and all the others can be inspired and be shared, but not necessarily. So a broad horizontal approach and verticals.
So-called trailblazers. Huh? We need a few trailblazers like you.
In a sense, it's a bit of a, the baby is born, ACEBA is born, and it's learning to grow and to act. And you're absolutely right. The key word is co-creation. So we don't know, perhaps in a couple of months, after we selected 2 initial focal areas, which of course would be interesting. And I think from yesterday and today, we already have 2 or 3. So Basri, you and we discussed yesterday potentially textile sector. Here the idea about food has come as a strategic one, so it could be some other, probably transportation. So it really, maybe in 2 or 3 months, it is going to be some sectoral association or some subgroup of businesses which comes up and takes responsibility to take something else. So as Renee, you said, we are now co-developing as we go. We need to come up with some procedures how to. We don't know. So we are not really trying to strong drive seed, particularly because we are EU program. So we want it to be developed from within. We are happy to support, but it is really up to you, and we are helping to hold hands whenever it's needed. But it's very interesting what you said, because in fact, we are now looking at the request of another region of Central Asia, where the regional organization has asked us to help their parliamentarians to make sense of the circular economy approach. And of course, parliamentarians are dealing with the policy development, putting them to the parliament for discussion, debate. So the original idea indeed has been, how about we will make some kind of assessment, as you've been saying, the economy looks like in the countries, in 5 countries in Central Asia. Then we realized it actually would be an unsummable task. We exactly then decided to go and see where the business sector is already making inroads, where the opportunities are, where the businesses are ready to take on board, and start from there. So we start, say, with food or whatever businesses will be showing as the most promising. And from there, we will engage with government how to create potentially a set of policy portfolio, which would help others which are still not very aware or very committed to pull them up through either encouragement set of policy or to removing those which are discouraging, as Renee has been talking about textile, or as we know quite a few, for example, in Vietnam, there are quite strong policies which prevent use of the recycled water, no matter what the quality of it. At the moment, there's this kind of policies there. So removing the bottlenecks, creating the pulls out from the governmental side, but what we thought is it's actually, we need to see where the businesses are looking for the opportunities and seeing possibilities. So that also has been our thought, yeah.
Okay, there's also a question online from Handa, which is quite related to what we're discussing, linking with policies and the ACEBA. She's referring to the actions based on the roadmap of circular economy by BAPENAS, so seeing how ACEBA will be contributing to this. Anyone to comment?
Yeah, I think that is maybe some of the homework which has to be done. But I think so clearly we have said we want to support the member states' policy and practices. So I think we need to do still a little bit of the mapping on the where's the roadmap from Bapenas. Can we talk to Bapenas on some of the lessons learned which we have, and see where's the concurrence and where's of course some of the differences. I think that in the earlier versions that we saw very much a focus on the kind of the 9R strategies. And that is a slightly that is supportive by us, but we maybe take a slightly bigger view on the resource efficiency, circularity, and substitution. So we have to also see where do we support and where are we stretching the boundaries a bit beyond what is in the circular economy framework there. But I think this is something I think with Kadina and the team and Bapenas, we could sit down and have a session on the in-depth of what do we learn from the 20 cases which we will have by the end of next month. So what do we have, what insights are there, and how can we help them operationalize the roadmap?
Thank you.
We do know that EU delegation here is also working with Bapenas, a team, another program working with Bapenas exactly on circular economy road mapping. So we would need to also sit down with them and with Bapenas to create the synergy. So there are quite a number of things are going on. So it's really time to synergize now. And it's great that Kadin is now really in the center of it. We need really business-driven membership organization really to bring us all on board and be a stronger voice on this, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think what we will also do when we look at the case studies, I'm just reinforcing, to look at all these, and we'll have to ask the question, the companies who are doing it, how can you do better? What are the impediments? What is standing in your way to do better? Those who are not starting, what should you do? What should be there for you to start? And the key thing is you just have to start somewhere, because eventually starting is the most difficult. The moment of inertia, the first move is the most difficult. When I write an essay, the first draft is the most difficult. Once it's there, it's easier to amend. To create is very difficult. So unless you got Rene with you, he's better at creating. So I think what we will do is and since we got Kadin as the things, we will have empirical evidence on what works and what doesn't work and what should be. And I think that's what policy makers need to do. Okay, you understand. Thanks. Any other views? Yes.
Thank you. My name is Gilang. I'm from the UN Global Compact in Indonesia. Just reflecting on the discussion that circular economy issue cross-cuts with a lot of other issues. The UN Global Compact has, the United Nations themselves has a very good framework, which is the SDGs, that we think we can sort of use to help direct where actions are. So the UN Global Compact has prioritized 5 key areas where business can make the most impact for the SDG. Since we are nearing the deadline for achieving the SDG, we only have 6 years to go, and only 15% of them are achieved. So those 5 areas are in climate actions, definitely circular economy, cross-cuts with climates a lot. And then the second one is on gender equality. We do, they do cross-cuts a lot as well in there. And then we have water stewardships. I see that in the documents there is some actions on water. There's this term called net positive water impact, which is also an element of the circular economy. The fourth one is on living wage, which is some of the presentation I see from the business case directly correlates to increased living wage through circular economy. And the last one is on finance and investment, which is where financing needs to be directed. And I do think that circular economy is a good platform for that as well. So with this, I think that we can co-create a synergy with the SDGs, especially with Bapanas as the national actor for SDGs. Not to give another homework, but just a suggestion of the already established frameworks which all the countries already familiar about. Yeah,
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks
you so
for your
much.
contribution. Thanks. Is there any other views? If not,
Maybe online, because
please.
there was a hand raised online.
Yep. Who is? Okay.
It was
Whoever
Florian,
raised.
yes.
Yeah, Mr.
Hi.
Florian.
Hi.
Yes.
Good morning still to Jakarta from Hanoi. I'm Florian Beranek. I'm based here in Vietnam, but also working for Sweet Asia in similar, but in another sector in construction. But I would like to pick up just one statement of the gentleman from Kadin at the morning session about the problem of this is all being seen as greenwashing. And you're absolutely right. But I think what is very important to realize that ACEBA, per nature, is aiming at national small and medium enterprises. And if you look who is greenwashing, which is done globally, this is never done by small companies. Small companies are working hard, honestly. They're really driving this change because they have the contact to people. And I think this can be an absolute selling point for ACEBA, but also for how to domesticate circular economy, because you cannot play with a small company and a global game of resources and recycling of I don't know how many stages. But I think this is a uniqueness of this initiative. And I think it could not be highlighted enough that it's not only for SMEs, but it's also for those, not only for those producing, but also for those who are trading, who are dealing, who are talking to people, explain people, their customers, their clients, the service providers. That's where it makes the change. If you look at circular economy, where it started in cities, in villages, where people started to think, how can we use stuff longer? This is the main objective, how we can make it really sustainable. And that's why I think ACEBA is a great idea, and I hope it will grow very fast here in Asia, in ASEAN. And I'm quite confident. Thank you.
Thank you, Florian, for your good wishes. Thank you for your comments. And thank you also for listening so thoroughly that you can make your contributions great. Thank you. I think very good points. Thank you very much. Anybody got anything to else? Okay. I think the feedback has been very, very useful. And as Zinaida says, the baby has been born. Now you have to crawl, we have to grow. So as we grow, you know, sometimes when you grow, you eat more, you also fall down more, and you pick up and you go. So it's going to be a journey. Everything is not so smooth, but it will always be wonderful. You know, I've grown, had my hair full. When I was in school, I had nice curly hair. My teachers loved my curly hair. Now I have no hair. So we all have to grow through different stages. Okay? I'm sure Florian also had a lot of hair before. Okay. Thanks. So I think on this note, I will pass it back. Thanks for your feedback. I think that's very helpful. And as you go along, please give us your feedback. And I think in Indonesia, the focal point for us will be with Kadin. We'll work with them for businesses. And I think that's key, that we said ACEBA is for ASEAN, of ASEAN businesses. So we want to address needs and aspirations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Let's give everyone a hand of applause. So now may I invite Dr. Zinaida to give her vote of thanks and to close the event.
Thank you very much. I think so much already has been said. Well, I will be very, very brief. Well, starting with very important invitation to everybody who is listening to us online and also in the room, and those which will be listening to this session in the record. So we are immortalized by our team, which also needs to be thanked. So, but for those who are with us and will be listening, please do sign up So strength, as I mentioned yesterday, is in numbers. So the word needs to be strengthened, the baby needs to be grown. And this is a baby with many hearts and hands and wills and creativity. So the statement could be picked up on the tables. And I would probably ask Lorraine, you to type the addresses or contacts where we might need to have send these commitments, because we do understand that your companies might need to verify it either with your boards or your CEOs or your colleagues immediately. So it's not unilateral decisions unless you are really micro size enterprise, well, consisted of one person, which is, of course, is also very fine. So the statements here need to be signed in its really commitment to be a partner to ACEBA and contribute and benefit. So while it's gives and take and co-create, as colleagues said, the initiative together. Big thanks, of course, to our co-conveners, three co-conveners, Thomas, to you, Renee, to you, to Jill Gonzalez, which may be with us online. If not, so he will see it later. So thank you very much for bringing us together. And yeah, so the email is there. Commitments could be sent, or if you lost that, please go on the website of Switch Asia. You type Switch Asia, you go on the website, send it to any of the contact there, or take cards from any of us. Please, well, we are in touch, we are open, we are easily identifiable and spotable, including now during the lunchtime. Now, conveners, thank you very much. Lorraine, who is our key expert of Switch Asia team and who would be the main contact for this technical advisory and supporting us throughout, is also big thanks to you, and she will be constantly in touch. Kadin, fantastic to have a country lead. You will be, I'm sure, joined by many other associations in the country, and I'm pretty sure by the global contact colleagues as well, which are now at the stage, as we are aware, to develop really the global approach to circular economy. So we are really looking forward to work with you from the side of ACEBA for the region, but also beyond, because as you know, Switch Asia is covering 42 countries. So we are keen to work with Global Compact. Big thanks to all of you. Today, business speakers, your presentations were insightful, inspiring. So a lot of questions which we have had about business cases, those which we didn't work on writing of these cases, got clarified. Very interesting insights. Thank you for all of you in the room, online, who will be with us, and certainly big thanks to our experts from Indonesia, Dr. Nia and Dr. Yun. So you are with us, you will continue to be with us. That's really the first draft of the action, so to speak, which is so difficult to do. You are really have been developing and will be developing it. So the rest, well, is we are critiques and co-creators, so life is easier. Thank you. Thank you very much. Long journey ahead. Big day today, big day yesterday, but many years to make this world somewhat better. Thank you very much. And Lorraine, back to you, well, to announce a really important part of this morning or afternoon.
Before that, thank you, Dr. Zinaida. May I request everyone to go in front for our photo, for our group photo for this event.
And then lunch, right? So colleagues, for those which want to escape, plan to escape, don't escape without food. The lunch is served on the second floor. It's rather nice. So we will see you there after the picture.
Please join us on stage. And those who are online, please open your video so your faces will be shown. You'll be part of the photo as well. Yes, and for everyone's information, we will be sending you all the PowerPoint materials and also the link to the business cases, as well as the summary report of the launch and the event for today. We'll also be sending you the photos. So
Okay, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen. So you can, yeah, you can stand up on the left on this and the right side of the projector, so we can take. Okay, maybe some two person from here can go to the left side, so it will be balancing. Okay, Bapak boleh naik di atas aja biar lebih kelihatan.
Colleagues online, can you?
Agak tertutup ini soalnya. Coba kita ini ya.
Halo.
Testing.
Boleh, can you tell those online to open their photos, please?
Okay. Oh ya.
Online to show their faces.
Bisa. Yang bisa beberapa di depan juga. So. Oke, mbaknya bisa juga kalau misalnya mau duduk di sana. Okay, we will take the picture in 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. Okay, last one. Change pose. Okay. Oh, freestyle. Okay. 3, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, thank you so much.
So again, please join us for lunch at the Le Grand Cafe, which is just one floor below at the mezzanine level.
And
Thank you
colleagues,
again.
big thanks to our colleagues from the consortium near us and colleagues which made us visible. The team on the back is our heroes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Near
Ida.
us team and communication team. Thank you.